Hey, welcome back to Taste Kitchen. As you guys know, we're gonna jump into some wine tasting today. The difference is we're gonna do it and have some fun through this virtual process that we kind of have perfected here at Foodable Network. And Taste Kitchen, of course, as you guys know, kind of runs the gambit around topics. So we'll do everything from food demos to what we're gonna do today, a wine demo, or even some cases, even do cocktails and things of that nature with great bartenders and mixologists. But joining me today is Isis Daniel, who is the Millennial Somm, known as the Millennial Somm. Great to have you on the show, Isis.
So happy to be here. Thank you for having me, Paul.
All right, I want to read this because this is kind of fun. Isis Daniel, known as the Millennial Somm, a certified level 2 wine and spirit education professional out of DC. Basically, you were in the hospitality industry for about 5 years and then kind of started moving into, is it consulting or do you do more private events? How is kind of tell me a little bit about you and how you actually go to market with your skills.
Absolutely. So I am a mix of everything. I think as a true millennial, we always have our hands in almost every single option, right? But I do wine consulting. I host private events. I create content on social media as for educational purposes and things of that sort. But I do it all.
Very cool. Well, I love your TikTok account. It's very fun, and kind of the whole theme. I definitely we're going to dive into that for sure, and learn a little bit more about how social is being used today. We are going to jump into a taste here at the top of the show, and then get into some of the trends and some of the things you're seeing in the business as we go further. Today we're going to be reviewing the Pinot Noir, which is the Amici or Amici, depending on who you talk to. This is a Russian River Valley 2017 vineyard. Tell me a little bit about, do you know much about this wine and what are your thoughts on it?
Yep, so I've had it before, and I enjoy this wine because of how complex it is. When I first got into wine, I wasn't a big fan of Pinot Noirs because most of the ones I had, they lack complexity, they lack body. This wine is totally opposite of what I first originally thought Pinot Noirs were all about. It's full-bodied, it has complexity, nice jammy, black fruit in there, a little earthiness to it. So it's totally my jam. I love it. You're going to love it too if you haven't had it.
You like the full body Pinots, huh?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, when I first started drinking wine, the first wine I ever had was a Cab, and I fell in love, which I know is opposite for most wine drinkers. But yeah, I love more complex, the fuller it is, the more I like it.
One thing about Pinot Noirs that, I've been studying Pinots for, decades. It's one of my favorites. Even though I do like French wine as well, a lot of, especially when you get into the Bordeaux, it's probably, I would say that still is my favorite region of the world. But yes. I fell in love with the Willamette Valley. Oregon's Pinots are just out of this world. And of course, there's a lot of them. But I found that the Russian River Pinot Noirs have kind of come back a little bit, especially this particular vineyard. When you look at how Pinots are crafted and built, especially from a winemaker standpoint, as a Somm, what do you look for in a great Pinot? What are the kind of the characteristics and the staples that a Pinot has to have for you to say, this is one I'd recommend?
For me, and I think I feel this way for all wines, honestly, I need to go through a journey. I do love, with Willamette Valley especially, how crisp the acidity is. I love the fruit there, but really I want to experience different flavor profiles. I don't like wines that are simply, you're just getting fruit, or you get a little bit of tannin, a little bit of acidity, and that's it. I want to go through a journey where I first taste the wine, and then as I'm sipping, I'm starting to get different flavors, and just kind of being able to evolve with the wine as it develops. I just want it to be a full experience rather than being one-dimensional.
Right. That's I think a fun part of it. I get a chance to hang out with a lot of Somms. One that we have on this show, she's a master Somm, Emily Wines. And I'm not sure if that's a real name. I gotta ask her one day. Anybody that's a master Somm who has the last name Wines. which
I
I love
mean,
Emily. She does a great job. But something that she's taught me a lot, and every time I talk to a Somm, I seem to learn these little nuggets of gold around really understanding great wines. And body is one that is very important. And this Pinot is one that really kind of accentuates body versus a lot of Pinots kind of go to that mid
yes.
to lighter range. When you look at and we're going to pour this, when you look at body in a Pinot, because it's not something that typically someone would get at a table and go and ask for, hey, I want a heavy body Pinot Noir. Normally that's not something you hear in a restaurant. What are your
Absolutely.
thoughts on body for a wine like this?
I love wines that are out of the norm. So for me, I appreciate it. Number one, because it is not something typical, but I love body. I love texture. So the more, especially, you have to emphasize it needs to be balanced, right? But if it's balanced, I love it. I think that it's interesting because a lot of the times, at least on TikTok, I have a lot of newbies to wine, and one of the wines I recommend mainly Pinot Noirs if they're trying to transition from sweeter wines to quote unquote real wines, right? But for me, someone who loves a full body, loves high tannin, loves complex wines, for me to find a Pinot, it makes me super happy because it's just
Yeah.
unexpected sometimes.
This one definitely has it. It's got that little back palate to it that's feels almost like a dry wine. But the body is again what kind of impresses me with this, and it's one of the big reasons we kind of look at this particular vineyard. When you look at pairing, and let's talk quickly about that, pairing a wine with something, especially a Pinot. What would you say this particular wine you would, as a Somm, you're at a table, you've selected this wine or someone's kind of narrowed it down. Where would you go on the menu with this in terms of a matchup?
I would go with lamb chops. I just
Oh,
feel
there
like
you
that
go.
would be a
With
perfect
some
pairing with this wine.
gorgonzola crumbles on it.
Yes, come
Oh
on.
man,
Yes.
there we go. All right.
Yeah,
Now we're
especially
talking.
because it's
Some
so
herbs off to the
jammy and
side.
that
Oh yeah, yeah. I like
it
that.
has everything. It has earth to it, which will go with the game oh my gosh, why can I not say it? The gamey characters of a
Yep.
lamb chop. It's just if I feel like it just pairs well. It goes well together.
Yeah, that's a good selection. I like that one. All right, so winemakers over here are always looking for an angle. And when you
Yes.
think about, because everybody's kind of, all right, where am I going to go with this year's, approach, the style of my wine? Typically, that kind of stays with a vineyard. When you're out there researching wines, you're looking for great winemakers and great hidden gems.
Yes.
Do you see anything out there that says, hey, let's kind of look at maybe this region here, especially here in the U.S.? Any areas of the U.S. that you're thinking this might be an up and comer?
So I'm kind of torn between my answers. I recently just discovered Texas. And I can't give you much information about them. I'm just going to be honest about my position as far as I'm still learning more about, Texan wines. But I'm hearing great things about their Grenache and other warm climate varietals in this region. So I definitely think that we should keep an eye out for wines coming from Texas. I think that they are definitely up and coming. And they're actually quite big already, but I don't know a lot of people who know a lot about wines from Texas, but I know that
Right.
we should be expecting a little more from them in years coming.
There are some interesting areas, geographical areas in Texas, I think, that kind of lend themselves to winemaking a little bit more. So that's cool. I think that's a big one. One thing we have noticed, and we've done a couple of shows here on Taste Kitchen, on Texas whiskeys, which have just
Yes.
blown up, especially around Austin. We did several with Yellow Rose and a handful of others that really kind of exemplify what's happening in the artisan beverage business inside the state of Texas. So that's kind of cool. Great pick there. I want to thank, of course, Amici and also the winemakers Tony Biaggi and Jesse Fox, of course, for this great wine. And I want to kind of set that aside and kind of move on to some of the things that we always love to do when we get a Somm on, and that is talk about trends. All right, so there's a couple of things happening. Social media, we had you on.
Yes.
You're kind of a rock star out there. Tell us a little bit about how you kind of launched your social media presence to kind of really kind of pump up the Somm role, especially with kind of your approach to it. Talk to me a little bit about how you got started.
Absolutely. So, my social media journey began when I decided to really take my career in wine seriously. I was in school learning about wines and I wanted to practice everything I was learning. So I started doing my Tasting Thursdays, which airs every Thursday at 3 o'clock on Instagram TV and YouTube. And all I was doing, I would taste the wine and go through all the tasting process and just practice. I didn't
Right.
know that people loved my personality because I bring myself, my fun personality to wine tasting, and people really received it well. So then
Yeah.
after that, that's when I started doing these, fun little videos and started doing them on TikTok. And again, bringing my personality, bringing my comedy to wine, and making it more approachable. And that's why people love it, is because I'm making wine approachable and making it personal to, the average wine drinker, which makes up majority of the wine drinkers in America
Yeah.
and around the world, right?
Yeah. Well, I love your approach because you've got this kind of this alter ego. Tell me about
Yes.
how she came about. What was that process? I love anytime someone can kind of play two different roles. I mean, it's like a Saturday Night Live skit when I watch some of your videos. It's great.
Yes, so Mrs. Suzanne, she is inspired by the many different wine professionals, wine snobs, and wine lovers that I
Okay.
have had the honor of meeting throughout the years. And I purchased a wig, decided, okay, I bought this wig for a different video that I was making just for fun. And a lot of people wanted to see other videos. I was already coming up with different ideas that I wanted to talk about. So I had the wig, slapped it on, made the video, and people loved it. People laughed. I never
Yeah.
expect people to laugh at my jokes, but I'm happy that you guys enjoy them.
That's funny. How long does it take you guys to put a script together, kind of going from idea to, all right, we have a TikTok video?
So it's hard to say as far as the whole process of writing everything out. Most of my ideas come in the middle of the night, which I'm a night owl trying to be a morning person. It doesn't really work, but I try to make it work. But most times I'll have an idea, it'll come to me. I'll either write down the idea or sometimes a script will come to me and I'll write out the script and then I will, just do it. And recording takes between 30 minutes to an hour, depending on how many videos I am creating in one time, because everyone knows I have a lot of hair and I have to fit a small blonde wig on my head. It's a whole process. So most times I'm recording Miss Suzanne one day and then a different day I'm recording my part as the Millennial Somm.
Yeah, I love that. Well, and we are finding more and more somms that are kind of getting out there in terms of, tasting, which I think is a great service to the industry, both for professional beverage managers and even restaurant owners. Sometimes, just exploring different viewpoints in wine, to me, is very important because you need to kind of get outside your circle, get outside the bubble and learn other things. And I think, just that variety is a great thing. So I love what you're doing there. I want to talk to you, when you look at kind of the industry, we've had the big downturn, obviously, over this last year. A lot of fine dining restaurants out of business now. With those fine dining restaurants, a lot of times that would relate to a wine professional being employed by them.
Yes.
So we've seen a large number of somms that are now looking for new career paths, not away from being a somm, but maybe where they're going to practice their craft. Where do you see potential opportunities there?
Well, I think the obvious one that most people have been turning to would be virtual tastings. So yes, we can't be in restaurants, but there are still couples. I host tastings, small gatherings here in DC, but then also I host virtual tastings online where I can have up to 100 people at one time, which, So I think that is the obvious pivot. Another thing, you are seeing more people on social media. And I think that
Right.
that's a market that we as the wine industry, we need to focus on. There are so
Yeah.
many young slash seasoned
Yeah.
wine lovers who don't know a lot about wine, feel intimidated by wine, and we need to make it our business to meet them where they are, which is why I
Sure.
make my content. A lot of people don't know, and they feel that wine is not for them because they like sweet wines, or wine
Hmm.
isn't for them because they're older now and they feel they've missed their opportunity. We
Right.
have to kind of break down the facade of wine and make sure that we're reaching people where they are. So I would encourage different somms, if you are trying to figure out what your niche is as a pivot, figure out what the need is and then
Hmm.
just go for throttle. That's what I did.
Yeah, I like it. Well, and I think, I talk to a lot of friends of mine who are, wine wannabe enthusiasts, but they're always intimidated by getting
Yeah.
into it. And it's usually just lack of experience. Hey, I haven't had enough wine to really understand taste profiles and why I like a Willamette, Pinot over a Russian
Mm-hmm.
River. Or vice versa. But the thing that I've heard from him and them recently is that they love the virtual tastings because
Yes.
they don't feel intimidated by those because they're not like, they don't
In their
look,
space.
yeah, they don't look like they don't know a lot, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it's a great learning experience. So I love the fact that you're doing that. When you're doing these, are you charging for this? Is it a free, or do you get vineyards to support it? How does it work from a monetary side of things?
So I do both. For my private tastings, I do charge, but I also do free tasting. So now I have every Tuesday, I have to say the right day. Every Tuesday at 8 o'clock on TikTok, I
Yep.
actually host a free tasting for people to come on and we taste together. And the main goal is to train people how to taste so that they learn how to assess a wine and figure out what they
Right.
like and what they don't like. That is the purpose. But I, like everyone else, I do have bills, so
Yeah.
I do
gotta
charge for
gotta
private
make those
tastings.
tendies. I
Just
love it. I love
trying
it.
to live.
I want to jump into our last part of our interview here, and that is to go
Absolutely.
into the trends.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at, and I want kind of your opinion on a couple of things that maybe you're watching. If you look at the rosé, that blew up a few years back. It's kind of, do you feel like that is still on point, or do you feel like that's a fading trend within the wine industry?
No, I don't think it's a fading trend. I believe that rosés are beautiful, and the amount of I've had some amazing rosés within the last couple years, and I think it's just people love reds, people love whites, and people love rosés. I don't really think it's
Yeah.
going to go anywhere. So as long as we are putting in the effort of creating amazing rosés, I think it will just continue to grow personally.
Yeah, and there's a few vineyards that have really kind of broken out in the rosé side of things and just created some amazing masterpieces. Another trend that
Hmm.
we've picked up is this celebrity element that has really jumped into. It kind of existed in the artisan spirit side when you had someone like a Ryan Reynolds with Aviation Gin, and many others that have kind of gone that direction. But now we're seeing it more and more in the winemaking side. Sarah Jessica, Post Malone, Mary J. Blige. We've seen, even Jay-Z, we've seen with his
Hmm.
Brut. We've seen a lot of celebrities kind of go in this direction. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that's a great thing? Do you think, hey, maybe stay in your lane? Or what are your thoughts on how that might work out for both them and also for people who are looking to buy those wines?
I think it's awesome. One of the struggles we have within the wine community is figuring out what's next.
Yeah,
I know that right now, if we're talking statistically, millennials are drinking more wine. However, when we compare it to the generations before us, we're still at a very, very low rate. So we need to make sure that wine is staying relevant, is really kind of how my mind goes about everything. How are we going to make sure that the next generation, that they're interested in wine, that they're learning about wine? And the truth is, people follow people, they follow
right.
celebrities. So I think that any encouragement we can have people to drink wine, I support.
Yeah.
Now, of course, you can go deeper because into celebrities making wine. I was just talking to someone about this week, I think, where we were saying, there's a difference between celebrity wine and celebrities in wine. Where one, they are actually a part of the process and they
Yeah.
actually have a love for wine. And I think if you have a love for wine, why not create your own wine if you have
Sure.
the means, versus someone who is just representing, slapping their face on the label and promoting sales. I think both
Right.
have their place. However, of course, my heart is probably leaning towards the people who are more involved in the process.
Yeah. A little more
But
vested.
I still think
Yeah.
that it's worth it in the end because we need people to drink wine and have interest in learning more about wine.
Yeah, I think and I would agree with you. I think the number one, when I look at celebrities getting into these kinds of businesses, I always look at it as this is a positive thing because it can put a light on the industry that maybe wasn't there in certain places.
Absolutely.
Because people do, hey, someone follows Post Malone, probably didn't know that he's backing a wine. And, whether or not he's involved in it, maybe he is. Or maybe he's jumping in to kind of his exploration and journey of wine. You just don't know. But I love the fact that they're shining a light on this industry, which is kind of a cool thing.
Absolutely.
Last question for you, Isis, is to go down the trend route. We always ask this of our Somms that join us. What are you watching right now that says, this is something that might be under the radar and it's something that could be a next major track for the industry?
Okay, so my answer, I know everyone makes fun of people like me and they call us hippies, but I love orange wine. And
okay.
I personally believe that it has the potential. You see how we were talking about rosé and how rosé, rosé, I think, had a lot of issues in the beginning because of white Zinfandel, right?
All right.
And then we learned, oh my gosh, there are all these different rosés, different flavor profiles, different styles. Boom, it's crazy. I believe the same thing is happening for orange wine, where everyone calls it hippie. It's a little too, the flavors and aromas of orange wine, contact wines are a little, you kind of have to have you kind of need a palate for it, right? Sometimes, some of them.
Yeah, for sure.
But I have been having different styles of orange wine that has been blowing my mind.
Oh, okay.
So I believe if it gets bigger, it's going to be a thing.
What do you like about it? Because that's I think for somebody trying it out, they would probably have a certain expectation. What is it that you love about it so much?
It depends on the varietal. But for me, I love orange wine because it's so different. I love the wet leaves and the dirty griminess of the of orange wines. I don't know. It makes me feel great.
Interesting.
But there are some orange wines that I've had that are much more approachable, like Pinot Grigio. I have Mary J. Blige's contact wine. I haven't had it yet. I will let you know what I think about it. But I'm open to trying something new and fresh. I think that's why I'm obsessed. It's like nothing I've ever had before.
Yeah, very cool. Well, now you've got me on it, and I haven't tried one yet, so I've got to get out there and do it. Yep.
Oh my goodness.
But see, I'm one of those. I'm a hard liner when it comes to wine. I get in certain lanes, and I'll stay there for a decade. I'll learn everything I can about it, and I'll just get so deep in it, and then I feel like I've shut my mind off to other things.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna get in there. I'm gonna try it out for sure. Before we get going, okay, I have to ask you this: can you do your alter ego for us?
Oh, you want me to be Miss Suzanne? I don't have my wig on. Absolutely, I can definitely do that. That's fine.
All right, here we go.
Hello, my name is Suzanne, Mrs. Suzanne. Have you met my husband, George? No, you haven't met George? Oh, he is divine. You would love him. Oh my goodness. But I had a great time here today. Thank you so much, Paul, for having me. Hopefully we can get together soon. Yes?
I love it. I'm
absolutely.
telling you, yes, we definitely will. We got to get you back on here as Miss Suzanne, of course, which would be so much fun.
I could do that. We can.
That would be a great. Is Miss Suzanne far enough in her wine journey as she's not a somm yet, right?
No,
only
she's
just
not a
wine
somm at
enthusiast.
all. Zero. She's still
Yeah.
learning.
Yeah, she's
Right
just
now,
getting through it.
Suzanne, we're trying to break all of the myths that she has learned throughout the wine industry still. So once
I
we
like
break
it.
all of
Very
those,
cool.
we can bring her on.
Very fun, very fun. Isa, it's been great having you on. We're definitely going to get you back on. We've got a lot of tastings lined up for the summer as we start to break into some of those kind of trends. And it sounds like we're going to have to get an orange wine right here on Taste Kitchen. So if you have a recommendation, shoot it over to us. You've got our producer's contact, so do that.
I will.
For sure. All right. Thanks for stopping in today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so you guys tuning in, of course, here on Taste Kitchen, maybe you're catching this on YouTube, make sure and smash the like button and also subscribe, because that's how you're gonna get great content right here from Foodable Network. As you guys know, we're gonna break down a lot of different kind of vineyards throughout the summer. So if you are a vineyard out there and that hey, maybe you've got something new, you've got a varietal that you really want to explore, get some people kind of trying some new things, send us a note, producer@foodabletv.com. And of course, you can reach me out on Twitter @Paul Barron. And again, a big thanks to our friends over at Amici Vineyards for a great Russian River today. So we'll catch you next time right here on Taste Kitchen.